Welcome to Inspiring Victory, where we help you inspire others and double your business in 1 year or less. And today we are really, really lucky because we have Craig Handley here with us, who is extraordinary. One of the true Renaissance men, Renaissance humans I have ever met in my life. He has been CEO and run a company of over 200 million in sales. He's got multiple businesses right now. He's an established songwriter. You probably have heard many of his songs. He does a lot in Hollywood. He has multiple companies and runs them all beautifully and just manages to add some sort of magic to everything he does. And if you ever want to know anything about social media and marketing, there's a real genius there too. It's people say somebody thinks outside the box. I don't think that that there is a box, and I love that about you. So we're going to talk a little bit today about how you can double your business with some of the strategies that Craig brings to the table, and I know you will adore him as much as I do. So welcome, Craig. I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for coming.
I love the suggestive too of you will adore him as much as I do. That's exactly what I need to start off any conversation. So everybody comes in with that, who doesn't want to be adorable?
You are. And you have a great family, which is lovely too. So, well, all right. So tell me, I know you have more secrets and more ideas and more suggestions than anybody I know for people who want to grow their business and are, maybe struggling, maybe doing great. I don't know where you are at home. It may be springtime and it's about to harvest and things are going great, or it may be a dark time for you, more like winter, but don't worry. That means spring will come eventually. So wherever somebody is in their business, if they want to grow, if they have a desire to grow, what would be the number one thing that you would suggest, having grown so many businesses so successfully?
What a lot of people don't know is you and I just spent the last 30 minutes talking about different things. And so I learned a little bit about your audience. And so I know your audience is made up of a lot of different types of people. So I thought we would cover, anybody from that entrepreneur who's building their business and is trying to create this big vision and has these big goals, but they're still not there yet, to the CEOs that are running established businesses, but they want to continue to see existing growth. And so I thought a good conversation might be, I just did a TED Talk, but my talk was called Why Networking Could Be Better Than Sex. And of course, the whole idea behind this
Catchy
is that,
title.
yeah, it's a little bit of clickbait there, but
I noticed that. Yeah.
but
Nice.
the reality around it is I've kind of figured out over the years how anybody could achieve anything. And I've kind of stirred it down to 3 different things in the recipe. There's a little bit more to it, but primarily it's 3 different things. So I'm thinking of that CEOs like, man, I really want to be in this place where, I want to get into this space. They're not there yet. Maybe they want to bring Web3 or NFT or cryptocurrency into their business. And they're trying to understand how all these things work. And they know nothing. Well, one of my biggest techniques, and I talk about this a lot, is, well, first of all, my first key point during this TED Talk is be fearless. We all have celebrities or somebody that we'd really love to meet, right? And one of my favorite stories is, for me, Richard Branson, was somebody I dreamt of meeting. And I'm like, but he's impossible to meet. It's never going to happen. Well, I'm in San Francisco and I found out he was speaking. And so I'm one of these guys who tries to be prepared for any opportunity. I'm like, maybe I'll see him in the hall. Well, when I got there, I saw all the security around and I was like, this isn't going to be easy. But I saw what the security was wearing. So I ran down to the Big and Tall store that night and I bought literally the same outfit that they were wearing. And then the next day, I heard a rumor that there were people that were in the audience that paid extra as a VIP to go backstage and meet him after his speech. So I had a buddy with me and I said, you're my VIP, let's go. And I fearlessly walked backstage where Branson was. I introduced my buddy, and it was really about introducing me. And I handed him a $20 bill wrapped around my business card. And I said, first 20 we're going to make together. He goes, oh, brilliant. What do you have in mind? I don't really remember what I said, but it was enough so that he gave me his email address. And so I got, it was really surreal. Now, the tail end of this is maybe 3 or 4 years later, my business had made Inc. 500's top. We were number 27 overall on the list with a 6,000 994% growth year over year. Now, this is for those CEOs out there that are running big businesses. We went from 50 employees to 1,400 year over year. So if you want to talk about execution and culture and all those things, which we will, I mean, that's where I got kind of that experience, was how fast that grew. But I got invited to Necker, and I showed up on Necker, and Richard goes, "Oh, did you bring me some more money? I still have the 20." And I was like, "I was surprised you took it." He goes, "Well, lesson number one on Necker: you don't get to be a billionaire without taking people's money." And then he dumped a ginger beer on my head and gave me a hug.
As one does.
I've had a good relationship with Richard for, since that time. I think I've been to Necker 6 times. I've hung out with him in the US 3 or 4 different times, where we hung out in Vegas and we hung out in Calgary, Canada at one point, and LA another point. And
Yeah.
but yeah, he's an amazing man. And
You guys have a lot in common.
be fearless, right? If you're not, the funny thing that most people don't understand is that most people are afraid. And so the top 5%, the CEO, nobody calls. Everybody calls the gatekeeper. I call
Yeah.
the CEO. I go right to I'm like, why? Most people are afraid. So they think, oh, I'm going to go through, I'm going to play the rules, break the rules. There's a lot of ways to break the rules. So my second tip is to build your network before you need it. And a lot of people don't understand that. I was having dinner in Vegas a year into my business. It was broke. I had $50 on a credit card, but there was a big dinner. And again, I was fearless because I went. And I looked on the table and I said, "Are you going to bring more bread out?" Because that was my dinner, the bread and the water, because I didn't have any more money. And I was sitting next to a guy who had a little bit more money than me because he ordered an appetizer. But at the time, he was still broke too. But now it's been 20 plus years since I've met this guy. Well, he's a billionaire now. I mean, and so you build your network before you need it, because you never know who's going to be successful and who's not in the early days. If someone's committed to a craft, and they're good, it's going to take them 2 to 3 years probably to get to where they want to be. And if you supported them during that time frame, you're somebody who they probably will want to do something with. The other thing is when you're meeting people, if you create great relationships with them, you never know where it's gonna lead to. The third tip, of course, in this little TED Talk that I put together, was helping somebody else achieve their goals will rarely hurt your own chances of success. As a matter of fact, when I do things today in life, I don't look for return. I look to help them. And what's funny is when you help people, you don't know where that return is or where it's going to come, but it usually comes. And sometimes it's not even in a business that you're in today, but it's one that you want to be in 5 years from now, and you just didn't know it at the time.
Yes.
I mean, I have hundreds of people that I work with today that 20 years ago, we had no business that we could do together. And today we do. But because I supported them early on, I tell people you can do anything you want in life within 3 years. Not just do it, but be a leader. If you build your network before you need it, you support the people that you meet with the skills that you have today without looking for anything in return, and then you help other people achieve those dreams that they're trying to accomplish in whatever way that you can, whatever little part you contribute, because they know you're not. There's authenticity in working with someone for the success of them as opposed to the success of yourself. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I mean, and you're smart enough to remember at a certain point to ask for help when you need it, and to be super clear about what each goal is for each business. And that, that clarity, you've built that trust factor with people because you have helped them so much. And I do find that the most successful people I know, and my own personal success in our companies, has been from the fact that I have been that person who would give advice to anyone for free for decades, and they remember that forever, especially if you say, "Hey, I'm happy to help you a bit, and would you please spread some nice rumors about me and about what my company does in return." People take that very seriously. I spoke at a conference about 21 years ago, and I helped a gal who had no business and no money and no nothing. I helped her for like 20 minutes over coffee, and 21 years later, she came to another speech I did with the handout I'd given her 21 years earlier and said, "Now my company's worth nearly $1 billion. I would love to work with you now." And I went, Wow. And she remembered all my stories from 21 years earlier. I thought I didn't even remember half the stories that I told then. But it was, it was one of those things where it comes back to you. It doesn't always come back in a direct line. You may not even know that person may have told 20 people about you, and somebody then doesn't bother to mention to you that they had heard about you from that person whenever it was. But as long as you are so clear on what your own goals are, because the one danger is to just give and give and give and never ask for help on the projects that you want. So you're very good, I've noticed, about saying, okay, this is the next thing I want to do. Let's gather everybody together and make
Yeah, and
that happen.
I
That's
did all
part of
these
that
things.
fearless thing you said. That's part of that fearless thing you
Yeah,
said.
I
Yeah.
did all these things early on, and I never knew what I was doing really. I would go to a trade
Yeah.
show, and I would
Yeah.
stop at. I would go to every booth. I would go down one aisle, down the other. I would meet everybody, and I
Yeah.
had no idea where I would use them for. Well, the affiliate summit is a show that I used to go to, and I hadn't been for like 8 years. Well, I went and saw all these people. They were running small affiliate companies. Well, now nobody
Um,
knows who any of them are. Most of them are retired. They own multiple airplanes, and now they own 50 businesses. And I'm running into them, and they remember, we had relationships from 20 years ago where they were 20 years younger and they had 20 years less experience and wealth and 20 years less business experience. And man, so many of these people were dying to work. Oh, Craig, I can't believe, what are you doing? Let's do something. And they were just so excited that I had other businesses now that we could finally.
you
And I
finally
had
could get
one,
something
I
together.
had one client say, we've been holding hands for 20 years. Isn't it time we jumped into the bedroom? I was like, I don't know about that, but
But
but it was
metaphorically,
meant in a
all right.
business, metaphorically, a business sense, right?
Metaphorically. Yeah, I'm not
So
sure. I'm not sure about your intentions here. Oh, that's great. I love
he
that.
was a he was an
I
old
think that's
he was an
huge.
older Jewish guy. Funny as that.
Oh,
He was so
nice.
funny when he said it. He's like, we've been holding, and he actually didn't say jump in bed. He said, isn't it time we started? And he threw the F bomb in. I'm like, oh,
Oh, wow. Much more
yeah,
direct. Love that.
yeah. He was so funny. It was a funny comment at the time, but
Fun
I was like,
comment. A funny
yeah,
comment. Well, and
yeah,
haven't you had people where where you've been helping them, off and on, giving them advice or whatever for 10 years, 20 years, which seems like well, I remember when I first started, you just want business. You just want to survive. And that's a different conversation. We could talk about what you do for people who really are just getting started. But what's interesting is that, yeah, years go by and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, now I have a project where I really need your expertise. Can can your this division of your company do this for us? Or now that we have that division, I didn't even know I was going to do 20 years ago. Like now, like one of our clients was how, we need 12 VAs from the Philippines. And we have a lending library of our fabulous people that we can give to people while we're sourcing the
yeah.
permanent. And so I was like, and she, I didn't even know you had that part of your business. We desperately need that. I'm like, talk to Leslie, no problem. So it's been interesting that as, like you said, as you evolve and you add the things that your market really needs, some of those people who just liked you and you've liked them and you've tried to do everything you can just to support them. And not, doesn't even necessarily have to be anything fancy. It could just be holding the space for them to come up with ideas or supporting them and saying,
Yeah. And
yes, I
it's
believe in you. Yeah.
sometimes I'm just in the middle of my day and somebody's name pops into my head. There's
Mm-hmm.
this magic in the energy, right? And taking action on the things. A friend of mine, Frank Kern, wrote a book and he calls it the tap, right? And I call it the tap as well. Like I'm sitting through my day and all of a sudden this person pops into my head that I haven't talked to in 5 years and we were good friends. And I'm like, I should reach out. And I do. And it's inevitably something that is supposed to, the timing of it is there. And I think a lot of us, as we grow, trust our intuition and the energy of the universe a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And you can hear it loud. There's nothing that is being said or anything like that, but I hear it. I hear what I'm supposed to be. There's an angel whispering in my ear every now and then, and I listen to it more, and I think that makes a difference. But I also wanted to talk about. I wrote a book. It's called "Hired to Quit, Inspired to Stay."
I
Now,
love that.
growing a business from 50 people to 1,400 people, there's a lot of moving parts, right? And if you're a
Yeah.
CEO and you're trying to do this, look, I didn't want to be operations, but at some point as a CEO, you're operations. I didn't want to be sales, but at some point as a CEO, you're sales.
Yeah.
You know, you take on many hats as a CEO, and there's not many people that are equipped to help you. The higher you get, the more lonely it is, because there's not as many people that have that experience to help you.
Yeah.
And so I took my experience I've owned Listen Trust, which is a call center. I've owned it for 17 years. And through that time frame, it was maybe in year 11 or 12, where we started doing, because we started out as a Spanish only call center, and then we started to bring English in. And as we hired English speakers, I did some of the initial training. And I was trying to get some of the training to stick. And we route our calls by performance. We also pay our employees a commission based on performance. And so I said, the funny thing is, most of you probably didn't want to be a call center agent growing up. I'm sure some of you had call center headsets and ran around the house pretending to answer phones going, how can I help you? How many of you did that? Nobody, of course, raises their hand, because that was nobody's dream. And I said, well, all of you had dreams. What are some of your dreams? And we started talking about it. And then I said, well, the sooner that you learn the training and perfect your job here, the more money you make. So the sooner you can quit and go do your own thing. And it ended up being built into this program called Dream Trust, where we created 6 pillars of happiness. And what's interesting is we did a survey amongst all of our employees about their happiness. And we used Forrester research because we didn't want it to be our study. We wanted to have an independent company do the monitoring. And what we determined, we gave the employees a 50-cent pay raise, right? And the results did improve by about 20% or whatever on the upsell position with the pay raise. Well, then we gave away money to charity, and we noticed that the results only went up by 17%. However, that was just if you're looking at the surface level. Right. We did this 45-question survey about happiness. And when we increased their pay, nobody was happier. But when we gave the money to charity, all the numbers on happiness went up. So as we dug into the results of creating happiness within the workplace, we found that our front end close rate went up by 5 points. So the 17% became greater than the 20% because of the revenue per call increase, because I had happy employees. So Dream Trust, we created 6 pillars of happiness. January became health and fitness, where we talked about dieting and we talked about exercise, and we had dentists come in and we had nurses come in. We did STD checks with all the employees. We did all kinds of stuff. We helped people get into rehab that needed to, and we told them their job would be waiting for them if they participated in our programs. That was January and June. February, of course, was relationships with your children, relationships with your partner, relationships with your parents, and we did finance in March. So we taught people how to save. So we kind of started with these 6 pillars. And then what we did is we built a full out program called Hired to Quit, where I would literally spend a week training people on how to achieve their dreams so that they could quit my company. And so a lot of CEOs are like, man, my recruiting costs are already through the roof. Yeah. You know how much it costs to train and retain an employee? And the answer is, I have hired over 10,000 people. So I probably know better than you do how much it costs to train, hire, retain. I know how much it costs. But listen to these numbers. My turnover, which was at almost 75, 80%, dropped to 24%. The number of people that want to quit is like 5%. But what you did learn is you learned what motivates your employees by asking them about what their dreams are. And so we were able to start providing programs with our employees that help them accomplish their dreams. For most people, their dreams are a side hustle. They love music and they'd love to play in a band, but they're never going to be good enough to become an artist in the charts. Maybe. 5% of your employees might be. 5% can make it a career. So I supported those people like I did my own children, but also the ones that just wanted it as a side hustle. I showed them that by keeping the things in their life that they're passionate about, it creates a higher level of happiness and accomplishment in this lifetime. And so our recruiting costs disappeared. We have people that line up to work for us And then the performance went way up, because if people get let go from their job for lack of performance, they cry, because we've set up plans within to help people accomplish their dreams. We have sand surfing that we do every quarter. We jump from airplanes every quarter. And we tell them how to save for these programs so they can do things. If they want to go to Disney, we set up a plan. We have finance people that support them. We call it our dream manager, and so we've done some things with culture and values that most companies are afraid to do. Now, remember, the first thing I talked about is be fearless, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so counterintuitive to teach your employees to quit, to show people how to go after their dreams. And sometimes it's sad. My COO quit and bought 2 golf courses now, but I'm awfully proud of him.
Yeah.
That was his
Yeah.
dream, and I hated losing him. I hated it, but he's so grateful today. We're still best of friends.
Yeah.
He's still willing to take a bullet for me because I showed him how to leave and do something that he was really wanted to do. And I've got
Yeah.
hundreds of stories. And so if you can train your employees to quit, you can lower your recruiting costs, lower your turnover, build a better culture, build a better environment, and increase, like, your whole purpose of your podcast is how do you double your revenues? This can go a long way to doing that. And I know it's counterintuitive. Pick up the book,
But
read it. It's called Hired to
it's
Quit,
huge.
Inspired to Stay. I think
It's a
I've got it
great
on
book.
Amazon for like
Okay.
$8, something like that. Easy to
Yeah.
find. I don't try to charge too much for it.
I love that, but I love the concept. The number of people that I have had conversations with who've worked for me where I have said, you really want to do something else. I don't want to keep you here, even though I love having you here. And they look at you like you have 2 heads, but you have to want what's best for people to the best of your ability. I mean, there are limitations, obviously, in how you transition people to different, out on their own or whatever. But I've built businesses for entrepreneurial businesses for people within my own company, or help them get outside business, and then said, you want to be on your own, you don't be working for me anymore. What I found is that the same question that I ask, and maybe you found this too, I'm sure you have, same question that I ask other people that I meet networking. If I ask the same question to my employees, I learn a lot, which is, what's most important to you? What makes that so particularly important? What are you doing toward that goal, idea, thought, and how can I support you in that? And those 4 things have changed my entire life and the trajectory of my business, because when you ask a stranger who becomes a friend those things, you now know what actually matters to them. And people are surprisingly honest. And then if you ask your staff that, like one of my employees said, she just absolutely loves her family, and that she's only working a job to be able to spend more time with her family. So when it came time around to, I've got to do something special for her, being able to say, hey, I'm going to give you an extra paid week vacation to spend with your family. And it's got to be fair to everybody else and all that kind of stuff. But still, if you know what motivates people, you can help them get what those dreams are, which is why I love this whole, dream
Yeah, well,
managers and
in
dream ideas. I want to
30 years,
adopt that. Brilliant.
I've made
Brilliant.
mistakes. I went to one CEO in my
Yeah.
company and I kept giving her pay raises, and I was thinking that I was
Done
doing her
that.
a favor. And she's
Right.
like, "Can I just tell you to stop? I don't want another pay raise." She goes, "Why don't you talk to me about what I want?" I'm like, "Oh."
Mm. I
I'm like,
almost the exact same thing happened. I don't totally get it. Yeah, you think,
you're like,
well,
"Oh."
not everybody's motivated by the same things. And I think it's so easy to assume that people are motivated by money, but every study that's ever been done says that money is like number 7. I mean, once you get past having a place to live and being able to feed your family and some of the basics, more and more and more money is not going to add significant happiness to your life. And it doesn't some people, it's a great game and it does motivate them, but for the vast majority of people, that's probably not what's motivating. If you don't ask what does motivate you, why are you in this job? Why are you, what's important to you? You're never going to find out. And I think it's brilliant that you found some pillars, as you called them, that you were able to establish that allowed every person working for you to move towards what their dreams were, whether they were a side hustle or in that 5% of the cases, they could move out on their own. But it's that Buddhist thing of detachment. You get to go live your own life. If you want to stay here, great. If you want to go, because people who stay but don't really want to be there are not great employees, to my
No, they're
in my
not.
experience. They're not happy.
Well,
And people unhappy people make terrible employees, and they know it and you know it, and it's not doing anybody any good. So I love the way that you frame that. It's really quite brilliant.
well,
Yeah.
and we talked about this before we jumped on, but I found
Yeah.
that most of my employees, 95%, want three things. They want to have enough money to be able to pay their bills, like their apartment, or they'd like to be able to buy a house, right? That's everybody's dream, is to be
Yeah.
able to afford their rent comfortably and pay for their groceries. And a lot of people want to have their own house, so they're building some equity value in their life, right? They think a house is part of successful investment. A lot of people wanted a car. They want to be able to transport themselves around their families. The number one thing, though, that everybody wanted was time with their family. And people
Yeah.
work hard for a reason. And so it became, I'd love to be able to take a 2-week vacation every year with my family, or 10 days or whatever. So we just built it into part of our culture. We said, we're going to put aside into a fund, and it became part of our pay. Whether it's
Yeah.
$10 a week or $40 a week, it's not a lot of money if you're doing it weekly. And once you're an employee for 16 months at Listen Trust, we were saying you could go on a vacation and we worked out a deal with a lot of Airbnbs, or a lot of friends of mine that have property. And for me, it was Mexico. So Mazatlan, or Cancun, or Playa del Carmen, or Cabo, and I just found a bunch of properties. And if you're a first year employee, maybe it's a place that's not on the beach, but I had the ability to bonus them to a beautiful house on the beach if they came in and they blew me away. And so it was one of these incentives where the longer you stay, the better. Your third year, you're on the beach in a big house, and so it was one of these, and you're paying for the employer. You could choose to pay for the employee and the spouse, but they can put money aside too if you have a dream manager that can help them and show them how to save to provide that value for their family. But look,
Love that.
it's like $30, $20 a week. It's not a lot. If you think 52 weeks of the year, you got to save up about $2,500 usually, or 2,000 for something along those lines. Um, it's not that much money. 2,000 divided by 52 is $40 a week, right? I think that's
Yes,
right.
it's small. It's smaller than people think. I think people are afraid that the people who work for them are going to want $1 billion by
Yeah,
Tuesday. And but again, since it's not the number one motivator, number two motivator, most of the time it's like number 7 or 8
well,
motivator.
it's a retention tool as well, because if
Yeah,
they leave before their 16 months, that money that
that's
you set
brilliant.
aside is no longer going towards their vacation. It goes back into the company coffers. So for me,
For
it was
somebody
actually
else's vacation.
it was
Yeah.
actually a reserve as well. So I also had a little bit of a
Wow.
reserve built into it.
That's so smart. That's so smart. Well, and I mean, you really were helping people again build a whole life, and that creates a culture of a tribe of and people always say, we're a family here, and then they fire half the family and think that that's not a family, and it's never going to be a family. And I think it's sort of disingenuous to say we're a family. You could say we're like a family, or we're your work family. I'm okay with that, but the fact that you're helping them build what they
So
want and the life that they want is lovely. Yeah.
I helped them. I wrote the book, and then those employees I helped came and did an intervention and told me I need to quit and go write music. And that's how I ended up.
Oh,
Basically, I retired from my call center to start writing music. And as I mentioned, I'm writing
it's
all the music for a new film that'll be filmed in
yeah,
September with Jack Black. It's a comedy. It's hilarious.
it's
I
very
had a
cool.
song that got accepted to Wakanda Forever, but never ended up on the track. It got kicked back out last minute. But I mean, I've had exciting things happening in music
You've
for
got
me
a lot going on with music. You
because
write
I
a lot.
because
You
I
write so
followed
much.
those. I followed those rules too. I built my network before I needed it. When I got into music, I just
Mm,
called and talked to everybody in the music space. And I didn't
yeah.
really know who was going to be my primary. I look for dominoes, right? Who's going to be the domino that I knock over that starts to knock over other ones? In this case, it was a guy who owned his own platform and wanted investors. Well, Richard Branson owned Virgin. So I emailed Richard and introduced this guy who was looking for 5 million to
Ah,
Branson.
and
And all
said,
of a
"These
sudden, the
are
guy
smart."
started referring me to top line writers and top line. And I didn't
Yeah.
expect anything. I didn't even tell him I was going to do it. But he's like, man, I can't believe that you just
Mhm.
introduced me to Richard Branson. And I've got a call with his finance guys,
I
and
love Richard Branson. Who doesn't?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's
so
also got this. He
he
also has
never,
dyslexia. Richard Branson has dyslexia, as do I. So of course, I'm in love with him. I think that's
he
smart. Well,
doesn't do
it
anything
sounds like
anymore. He just sits on his hammock and Necker now and answers a few emails every day,
as he should.
as he should.
As he should. Well, I think it's interesting that you have your employees decided to be your dream manager. It's like, I've created a dream manager and a space for you to create your dreams. And then they looked at you and said, now it's time that you go
That
explore yours.
that
Look
opened the
how well
door.
you're doing it. Just,
Yeah,
and
that
your whole
opened the
world
door to
is
everything
expanding.
else.
I think a
Well,
lot of people think that they have to stay in their one space and their one lane forever. And I spend a lot of my time talking to business owners who are like, "Oh, I've always wanted to start this second business or this third business or these two other businesses or this charity." Like, well, why can't you? Well, I'm going to wait till I have $1 bazillion. No,
wait,
what,
yeah,
yeah, what are you
I'm
waiting
gonna
for?
wait. I'm gonna
Couldn't you
wait. I'm
take
gonna wait.
yeah, well, couldn't you take, I said this one guy, I said, couldn't you take 10% of your bazillion dollars worth of profit every year and set up something and then you would have a charity. There you go. Ta-da. It doesn't have to be ginormous to get started. You could do something small that might really be exciting for your employees and exciting for you, and your soul would be alive again. This is
Yeah.
this is there's people are attracted to people who are excited to be alive, excited about their futures. You don't know what kind of deals are going to come to you as the CEO from some other company or some other entity because you are excited about
Well,
doing
your
something
your
different.
soul comes alive and you ignite the energy around you. And so
Yes.
I never
Yes.
expected. I started writing music, started talking to people, and I think I got about 150 songs in the bucket before I'm like, I got
Mm,
to market these things, and I got people. I need more people to know I'm a musician. So I
yeah.
started to build out my own social media because when I looked at the price of doing it, it was expensive.
Yes.
And so I said, well, I'm just going to build it myself. Well, 8 months of doing my social media, a lot of people were asking me what I was doing and if I could help them. So my one of my key employees says, "Well, Craig, you're spending about, I don't know, maybe I was spending 3 to 4 thousand a month." So they're like, "Why don't we get 5 people and we'll bill them 5,000 a month and we'll do their social media so you don't have to come out of pocket anymore." Okay, let's do that. Well,
Mm,
a year and a half later, we had 35, 40 clients doing 780,000 in revenue, and it wasn't part of my plan. It just happens
it
because I
evolves.
was, and things do evolve, and that's when a lot of the things, the crypto space, the NFT space. Well, I started training the writers I was working with and the singers to turn their single cover into an NFT. And then we could put it within the shopping cart as an upsell. And then if you're going to do a tour, you could set up an NFT unique to every venue you go into. And so I started building out all these tools for other artists and musicians. Now I'm working in the executive space. I reached out to directors directly. Now I'm business partners with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Mars Callahan and Jonathan Sanger. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
minority owner, but I'm still business partners because I was
Nice.
fearless. I reached out. I built my network before I needed it, and
Mhm.
and I didn't know where this was going. And so all of a sudden, the gaming people I had met, I'm tying affiliate marketing and influencer marketing into song launches and book launches, and it's just all these things that I never thought would be beneficial to me, and all these people that I help that I never knew I'd need are now my primary partners. They've gone from being people I never needed, but I helped, to people that are the ones carrying me today. 20 some odd years later, who would have thought that people I met 20 years ago are the ones that are
Yeah.
driving my
Yeah.
whole all my dreams today?
Time goes quickly. It's gonna go, it's that time is going to go by anyway. You may as well be, finding your tribe and finding those people that you believe in and want to help anyway, because I always think that you should have a form of marketing that you want to do anyway. And I love to help people, and you love to help people, and we're creative idea factories anyway. And the
Oh, and
idea that you just keep creating ideas for people, and they do remember that forever. One of the things I was going to mention is there are some people that I know are watching or listening that are just starting. They're in that first three. We do have some people that are just in that first 3 year space where they're thinking, oh, that's very nice, and I'm arrived. Don't you remember thinking at the beginning, I just need to eat now, it's like, that's nice. 20 years later, thank you for
I don't have
sharing.
any money. These are all good ideas, but I'm not going to do any of them.
I can't eat. So tell me, like, what would be one thing for the person that's just getting started, or maybe their business just tanked? What would be one bit of advice for somebody that maybe is just getting started or is struggling a little bit? Because it's been a
Number
while for
one,
us.
there's a certain level of success that people reach where they don't really care as much about revenue. They want to help you, and I know that it's very skeptical for someone to say they're willing to help. I used to go out when I was younger and I would charge $10,000 a day for a marketing strategy.
Mhm.
I was younger, I had an ego, I needed the money. Well, I took that same strategy in our social media business, and this is why I was watching a lot of my clients who were buying media, and trust in the world is at an all-time low, whether it's because of COVID, whether it's because of politics, whether it's because of healthcare, whether it's because of crypto or the NFT space or FTX taking billions of dollars. And people are generally more skeptical today than they used to be. When I used to do marketing, Robert Cialdini used to, and Zig Ziglar used to talk about, somebody needing to hear your story 15 to 20 times. Well, today it's over 50. And so one of the reasons social media for me became so important is because today you can build out 50 pieces of content so that if you run one ad and you've got an amazing story in your TikToks and in your LinkedIn and in your Instagram and in your Facebook, you can use that one ad to drive people to your content pages where you can lead them down an Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole. So what I started doing is telling people not to buy those Facebook ads and spend 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 a week on this media, Google ads and all this stuff to peel it back. And sometimes with your merchant accounts and things, there's a balance, but to peel it back a little bit and to build out 90 days worth of content, which we can post over the next 30, 60, 90 days to allow you to bring your media budget in half, but still generate 130% more revenue than you're generating today. And so what I do today at socialclose.com, close like CLOSE, not like clothes we're wearing. But if you go in and fill out an audit form, I now give away that $10,000 social strategy and
That
marketing
amazes me.
strategy.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
give it to people. And I want to be fully disclosed here. 30% of you will want to hire me and will hire me.
And
That's
they
the
do.
number.
Yeah.
70% of you will do it on your own because you're brand new, you're just starting out, and you're gonna put the effort in. And I love you for putting the effort in. At some point, your business will be big enough that you won't want to put the effort in anymore, and you'll hire me a year from now, maybe, or you'll
Right.
hire somebody else. I
Exactly.
don't care. But
Right.
these are the friendships. Those 7 out of 10 people, typically, the 3 that hire me think I'm a secret weapon, so they don't tell everybody. Some people ask and they'll tell them, but I get I get more referrals from the people that don't hire me than the ones that do. So those 7
Me
out of 10
too.
are always throwing business my way because
Me
they're
too.
so
I know. Well,
grateful.
I think it's a guilt factor too. It's like they took something for free, and I think good human beings don't want to take things for free. I actually find that they're afraid there's some catch. They're afraid that I'm going to take their firstborn child, and I have to actually tell people, hey, we're going to do this for you for free. We're going to get to know you, figure out what you want, come up with a basic plan for you. You can run with it if you want. We can help you if you want, but you don't have to. You can do it on your own. All we ask is that you spread great rumors about our company, what we do, how amazing we are, because they'll have had this free sample. It's like when you're walking through the mall and you're heading for a burger and somebody hands you that little stick of chicken. The next thing you know, all you ever eat at the mall is that teriyaki chicken or whatever, your veggie, whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, it's that same sort of thing, but I find that people are shocked that you're willing to do that. But again, it's just good business. If you know what your service is to a point where 30% of the people are going to go ahead and give you money, you can afford to do that. And that does build that power of trust. And I think you're a master at building that power of
I
trust.
had to learn. I initially asked people to tell everybody that I was both incredibly handsome and intelligent. And I got a little bit of
Geez.
pushback on that. As soon as I said, it's okay if you tell them I'm just incredibly intelligent. I'm okay.
Okay,
And then I started,
I'll tell everybody how handsome you are, I promise. You know I
yeah,
will.
but then I started getting all the referrals. I had to pull back a little bit. They were like,
You were asking
I,
for a lot, yeah.
yeah, I don't
Uh,
want to tell people you're handsome. I'll tell them you're intelligent, but I don't want to lie to anybody. Okay, well, whatever.
I'm sure many people that are watching right now are going to tell everybody how handsome and how talented and how smart
At
you are.
least they'll think I have an amazing sense of humor. So if they don't think I'm
Yeah,
handsome, being funny is the new handsome, right?
it's a new beautiful too, by the way. I've
Yes,
discovered
yes.
the same thing. I've gotten away with a lot because of my sense of humor. Yeah, absolutely. I always enjoy your sense of humor. Any other last minute bits of advice for somebody maybe just getting started, or somebody who's further along, or so it can be something for the brand new guys that just want to make sure they have rent or mortgage, whatever, next month, and then we'll go on to what the higher level folks need. What do
Well,
they need to? What's one
I,
thing they could do today that for no money that might help them get a little bit more business next month?
Well, I don't know if it's for no money, but I always recommend that people ask for help. I mean, and
Yeah,
there's
low money.
masterminds you can join for like $100 a month.
That's
You
low.
know,
That's low money. Yeah.
yeah, there's one like called the Bellwether, and there's like 6,000 people in it, but it's $100 a month, 1,200 a year. There's another
Mhm.
one called like the JVVM with this guy Dove Gordon. It's it's 1,200 bucks a year, and there's really really smart people in some of these groups. And if you're part of these groups, you are kind of paying something, but at $100 a month, you have access to about, with some groups, you have access to thousands of people at a really low rate. And those people are
Mhm.
really, they're not, a lot of times they're not charging you for help unless you choose to hire them for something. And so there's kind of these unspoken rules not to sell yourself in any of these groups, but you just, you post a WhatsApp or whatever, and you get 25 people who give you a reply as to how they can help you. You do. For me, I have this rule that I don't buy anything till I've talked to 3 companies offering the same service. And so if you can get 3 to 5 opinions on something,
Mhm.
you can pretty much become an expert if you get 3 to 5 opinions on something. You can become somewhat of a uh, knowledgeable person about that particular thing. So again, it's all part of building your network before you need it, which is just
Mhm.
do those calls, make those things. And once you know it, if it's not something you love, try to find someone who is not you. So if you're brand new in business and you love to sell, but you stink at execution, hire someone that's really good at execution if you once you can afford it. That would be the first thing I would do is find somebody. It doesn't mean you're not good at it. If you don't love it, if it's not your passion, then try not to be the one responsible for it.
Definitely. I think that would be that next level of somebody who's now getting to a point where they've got some money to throw at and they want to make some changes. And what about people who are really established and maybe they're hitting burnout or boredom or whatever? What do you think is the best? What would be your best advice for them?
I oftentimes I can go weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks without feeling burnout, but I get
Yeah.
burnt out just like anybody. And you've
Sure.
got to take time to think. You've got to have. So I oftentimes would say, look, if you're established in business, I only schedule calls, you know, 2 days a week usually. I, I oftentimes leave myself wide open, and I do that not only to think, but it
Mhm.
doesn't mean I only have calls 2 days a week. It means that when I have other calls, they're priorities for me, and I want to make sure I treat them as priorities. So I give myself plenty of space and plenty of room to be able to focus on the things that are important.
Yeah.
For me, it's like in my head, I've got a quad brain. I think of the things I've got to do now, and they go in a box. And these are the things I've got to work in over here. And these are the things I need to delay. They're still there, but they're not going to move into my work in or my do now for probably 6 months. And then
Mhm.
I've got an ignore box. And it doesn't mean, again, these ignore boxes, it doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It means any human being can only do up to 3 projects per quarter that are sizable. And so
Yeah.
if you try to do more than that, you are going to fail. If
Mhm.
you're a CEO, now you look at Richard Branson, he has what, 350 companies? But I
Mhm.
guarantee you he does almost nothing. In those companies,
Oh,
he's hired
right.
people who are
Yeah.
experts. And when you're really established, I hire CEOs for all of my companies. I'm never involved
Yeah.
in the day-to-day running of a company in any of the companies I have. I hire people who are smarter than me to run them, and I let them run them, and I give myself the latitude and the flexibility to stay out of the box and to bring things into each box that I'm involved in, and help the leaders of those companies see the vision that I have and how these people fit into the vision. And
Yeah.
so I spend a lot of my time not being directly involved in the day-to-day things. Now, always stay involved in finance, do a finance call every week or at a minimum every month, have key
Mhm.
KPIs that are sent to you every single week. For me,
Mhm.
with 1,400 employees, payroll percentage, my
Mhm.
payroll should be at 55% or less. The exchange rate's been tough, so it's been at 60. Well, that's
Yes.
cost me $350,000 this year. I mean,
Right.
it is what it is.
It dropped out. Yeah,
I
no,
don't like it,
it
but
was yeah, it was at 20 and now it's 22 for a while. Yeah. Now it's
yeah.
like
And so
60.
I've had to go back to some of my clients in order to maintain a margin and get them to pay more. And not everybody will. Some people will leave. that's
Yeah.
okay
Well,
too. I mean, you make
well,
strategic decisions around those things.
you got to work around all of that. Yeah. Well, and I think you made such an interesting point, which is at a certain point, if you get paid for the quality of your thoughts, you need more thinking time than doing time. And I think that Mark S.A. Smith, I don't know if you know him, big,
I do know
amazing.
him.
16 books he's written. I love him. He's one of my dearest friends. But yeah, 16 books later, and he's always saying you have to start factoring much more thinking time in and much less doing time, because our culture is set up to be, doing will equal more money or something, when in fact more thinking at a certain level will allow you to get where you are, because that thinking allows you to leverage other people's genius, and which is lovely. Well, it's been great spending some time with you. Okay, so how do people get a hold of you? How do people reach out to you to be able to get that free audit if they want that, to get some of those strategies? Because yeah,
Sure.
you catapult one great idea can catapult your whole business. And I think you're right. Reach out for help, even if you can't afford to hire the person right now. Reach out, learn a little something from them, maybe implement it yourself, and then come back 2 years later when you can afford it and get more
Yeah.
help. So take advantage of what Craig is saying. Where do we go to get that? Where does everybody listening, all these folks?
I'm easy to find. I'm Craig Handley on all of my socials. I mean, one word on Instagram, Craig Handley on Facebook. I think on Twitter I'm Craig A. Handley, which I put my middle initial in because I couldn't get the other one. But everything else,
Yeah.
I beat everybody. I beat everybody to the punch on the Craig Handley game. Because I was doing AOL dial-up searches and data. But
Yeah.
social close, socialclose.com. And right
Okay.
on the front page, it says get your audit. There's no cost to do the audit. We
Oh,
do an
that's lovely.
audit and my team reaches out and will review it with you for free, and
Nice.
which is a huge value.
Yeah.
And then we're going to ask a lot of questions so we can develop a strategy that aligns with your vision and your dreams. Now, the strategy so the audit gets done, it probably takes a week for us to get that call with you. And then the strategy might take up to 7 business days to get done, because we really put it's not, I have real people going in doing the research. It's got some
Not
AI
AI.
parts to it, but
It's not
yeah, but
chat GPT done. Got it.
we're looking at your website, we're looking at your funnels, we're looking at your social media, we're looking at your branding, we're looking at your brand image, your color schemes, we're looking at all of it. So the strategy, when it comes out, it's worth $10,000 to $20,000, and it's a blueprint. We have artists that will come in and want to learn how to launch a record, and we give them 45 videos they've got to create. It's homework. Now, my team can assist if you need
Right.
that, but a lot of it is stuff you should be able to do on your own. Really everything we teach you is something you can do on your own. And if you do it on your own, it might be 20% less. Great. But as your business grows, you're not going to want to do any of it on your own. And you're probably not going to be as good as we are either, because we've been doing it as a profession,
Right.
So
I've discovered that having, as soon as you can, hire the best people you can, the most expensive people you can possibly afford, because they will do a 10 times better job than your cousin, Louie down the street, who's been
sure.
doing it for a day.
Or that
Yeah.
that
Or
sugar
doing it
baby that
yourself.
that
And
sugar
then it
baby
frees
you
you
got
up.
that just wants a job. That sugar baby, don't give her the job. She'll fail you miserably.
Don't know what that means, but it sounds interesting. All right, it's nice to see you. Yeah, now we have a term that I do not know. All right, anyway, it's nice to see you, dear. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. You
I
are
really
always,
hope it was helpful. Like I said, I really love
you
to help
always,
people.
you're always helpful, and it's just nice to see you.
Yes.
But again, yes, make sure that, yeah, everybody listening, we're so glad to have Craig with us. Go check out his website, get to know him, and
You know
the
what I need to
program.
do for you? I need to do a theme song for you to enter into your podcast with. I mean, I'll interview with one of my musicians and we'll create this theme song, and we'll use Victory in it, all of your goals.
Inspiring
Well,
victory. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
yeah,
I know
you need to use that.
I scored a good name. A cute husband came with it. I take no credit for the good name. But yeah, anyway, thank you for being on. And again, yes, for those listening and those watching, we're so glad to have you here and a part of the tribe. You're really meaningful to us. We love you. And so again, thanks for being here at the podcast, Inspiring Victory, where you can double your business, double your impact, and change
And
the
double
world.
your fun. Double your fun
Double
too.
your fun. There you go. Yeah. So do something brave every day. Be fearless, and we'll see you at the next one. Thanks for being on, Craig. Nice to see you. Let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Marites Bod of Bott & Associates.
Hi, I'm Marites Bod of Bott & Associates. We specialize in estate planning, probate, trust administration, and Medicaid planning. We work hard to help families make sure that their hard-earned assets get to their families at the right time, managed by the person that you would like it to be managed by, and handled at the very least possible cost, without the extra cost of probate and the IRS. Every day I get to work with families who are worried. What are they worried about? Well, they're worried about going broke from nursing home costs. They're worried about who will take care of their young children in case they are not around. They're also worried about potential ex-son-in-laws or ex-daughters-in-law getting their assets. Sometimes they're worried about a special needs child. Who's going to take care of them? And last, they're worried about people fighting, their families fighting over the money. I am passionate about giving our clients peace of mind that all their worries have been taken care of. When you come to our office, we guide you to make choices that are in the best interests of your loved ones. As a courtesy to our family, we provide free legacy wealth seminars. There we educate you on the difference between wills and trusts and what's best for your family. This is just free information on this topic with no obligation. Check out our website for upcoming events. I get asked a lot of times, why am I different? And how I explain that is really that I care and I listen, and I'm really empathetic to all my clients. When people come to my office, they feel that they can actually tell me about their family members and tell me all the different things that is going on, especially about the troubled ones or issues that they might be dealing with. So I'm always there to help them and hold their hand, and if there's any events in the future that can happen, I'm there as well to listen to them. So I think that's what makes me different. At the end of the day, it's all about family. When me and my family immigrated here from the Philippines, I know what the sacrifice was for my parents to make it in America. We at Bott & Associates want to help you and your family. For further information, please call us or check out our website.